Welcome to Try Not to Overthink It, where we explore the intricate landscape of mental health, well being, and everyday life. I'm RJ.
I'm unique.
And I'm Khalil.
Join us as we dive into insightful conversations, share expert perspectives, and personal stories that shed light on the various dimensions of mental wellness. Whether you're seeking guidance, inspiration, or a deeper understanding of the human mind, this podcast is your safe space to engage, learn, and navigate the journey to a happier, healthier self. If you're new to the channel, we ask that you please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification button. So today we are going to be speaking on the topic of getting married. With us being in February, the month of love, I thought it was important for us to speak on the
And
topic
Black
of
History.
getting married.
Cut it out.
And Black
Because
history, yes. Most
we love a
importantly,
little
Black
Black
history.
love and, marriage and togetherness.
So I thought it was important for us to talk about this topic. I am not married. Khalil and Unique are both married. I am not. So these two people are married.
And is. When he gets married, we'll send y'all a wedding invite.
Yep. When for all the subscribers, it is once I do get married, I will send you guys the invite, and I hope you guys are free and are able to attend.
Our resident singles voice on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. This should be interesting.
What? So I thought it was important for us to talk about this topic because it's one that people have been talking about all over the internet for a while. For the past couple of years, people talk about why to get married, why not to get married.
Everybody they've been talking about this for centuries, I bet. They were talking about this at the watering hole when Jesus was third.
The watering hole.
Okay. Because at the well, because you remember when the lady, she had a couple husbands? It's been a topic of conversation. You hear me? Who's your husband, Bookie? That's what Jesus was asking. Bookie, who is your man? Because you got a couple of them. And the one you with ain't yours. Clocked it. Jesus was spilling tea, baby.
Oh my gosh.
At the well, he was clocking tea.
You were a mess.
Yes, he was. He was clocking it.
But what are you guys' thoughts on this topic?
Do it and do it fast. That's my thought.
That's your thought on it? Do it and do it fast. Okay, Khalil, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I'm definitely not going to say what Unique just said because I think this is a thought out. Not saying you procrastinate if you have someone, right? This is something you have to think out. This is something you have to really spend time with the other person and make sure your values align and make sure that you set certain standards for your marriage, right? So you're not surprised in the end.
Oh, that is spoken like a man with gray in his beard. Khalil.
No, but listen, because I've learned the hard way. You know what I'm saying? I'm on marriage number 2. I had to learn the hard way.
And I have a baby marriage. My marriage has it's going to be just going to kindergarten this year. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay. Just learning how to tie its shoes. So, but no, I'm going to tell you why I said do it and do it fast. I think a lot, especially if you're grown. And when I say grown, I mean over the age of 28. Okay. That's the man and the woman over the age of 28. If you 30
Right.
and up, once you meet the person and you pretty much size them up on everything besides their looks, what's their credit like? What, if they have kids, but by that time, after 28, a lot of people, they have kids.
They already popped out kids, right?
Right. They done popped out a kid or two. They done had a relationship or 3. And so once you have introduced them to your circle, put the fillers out, like Khalil was saying, you make sure your values align. It's just no point. I think sometimes people drag it out. 5, 6 years dating somebody. You're not changing. And 9 times out of 10, they are who they are and they're not changing. Go ahead and take the necessary steps to solidify what you guys are working on. Because I see marriage as a partnership. I don't just see it as, because I love this person. No, can I build with this person? I look at it the same way I would look into going business with somebody. The only difference is, I'm sleeping with them. The only dividing factor. I'm sleeping with my business partner. But in a lot of other ways, you are literally contracted with this person to build a life. And so I want to make sure, just like I would give that same level of attention to my business, or that I give to my business. I gave that same level of attention to choosing a spouse. And it didn't take 5 years to do it. Just
Right.
like it wouldn't take you 5 years to choose a business partner. Good for my business in the first 5 months of meeting your tailor, you're not. Because I don't,
Yeah,
if I'm waiting, I'm wasting money. And I'm trying to make money.
I mean, I agree with both of what you guys are saying. I mean, I do agree that you know when a person is for you or not. I think that it's important that for marriage isn't like you don't see this enough in today's culture where we are very intentional and very purpose driven in the decisions that we are making. We just I feel something, so I'm just going with it without really thinking first, second, third order effects. I think that it's important for you to, before you enter into the marriage, you figure out why you want to get married, because that's important, because that's
Right.
going to set the tone for
Right.
your marriage. I also think that
Hmm.
it's important that you and the person have taken the proper amount of time to court one another, because it's a marriage is not like a pair of shoes where you try them on, you like the way they looked in the store, you take them home, and then you have second thoughts, you take them back to the store, get your money back. You took vows, you promised your life to this other person, in front of God, in front of your family. So I mean that, to me, as a God fearing man, and just as a man in general, what I put my name to, what I vow to, I take those vows seriously. So getting married, to me, I feel like I got to make sure that our values are aligned, because if our values aren't aligned, our marriage is not going to last. It's not going to last. We're going to be at each other's throats, because we're going to
Hmm.
be at cross
Yeah.
purposes to certain things. So figuring out, do your values align? Figuring out, are you guys in the same space spiritually? Are you guys in the same space financially? Like, what are your thoughts on spending money? Should are you a saver? Are you a spender? Like, I feel like there are
But see
some
this,
thoughts.
go ahead. There's
Go
some
ahead.
thoughts. Finish your
There's
thought.
some thoughts that I feel that need to be put into, that you figure out by going through the dating process.
But
Saying
see,
that.
that's where I'm saying, well, no, that's not the dating process. The dating process is the selection. That's when you
Mm.
scouting for your team. The courting process, baby,
Yeah.
we signing papers after, right? When a team is scouting,
Right.
let's take it to sports. When they scout and they ain't signed nothing, no contracts have been signed, they've not
Right.
committed to you bringing on that team, baby, they just got you the t-shirt from the gift shop. Okay? This ain't the special jersey that don't nobody got. You ain't got the team's merch that ain't for sale when they scout your tail. You have to be selected, and then they start to court you and they make you sign them documents, and then you belong to the team. Too many people put people in the courting phase when they should be in the selection phase. We scouting.
Yeah.
I'm just scouting. When I was dating, I was clear. I am just scouting. Now my tail was not scouting. I was just out there having fun. I was reviewing people's tape. Let me see what your batting average is. Let's see what you can do. Okay? What you did. That's it. Cause I already knew I'm not looking to add anybody to the team. I had already told my family, nah, I'm not in a place where I'm ready to settle down. I'm trying to build a couple things on my own first. But then when I was ready to settle down, child, I emptied the bench.
There
And
you
and
go.
my team was just like, whoa, what happened? Why did we? I said, baby, because you not championship material. I can't have you in the finals. Like, you was just scrimmage material. Okay. You was just
Right.
something to practice on, just to see what was
Wow.
out there. You was a practice squad. Okay. That was it. That was it. So then when it was time to get married, I had no problem letting them go. Oh no, baby, it was great. Here's your consolation. Thanks for coming. It's wonderful. See you when I see you. And yeah, I even told my husband, like, look, coming out the gate, while I didn't say, I'm in it for marriage, I did let him know I'm grown and I'm not here to play. So if that's what type of time you want, go ahead.
Well,
And
look,
that was
you
that was
just
day
defined,
one.
but look, you just defined the problem, right? Some people confuse that dating with courting, right? Then some people
Yeah.
confuse, right? The people who are on the practice squad, right? That you just playing around with, Next thing you know, we talked about it in previous episodes, right? You're not using protection. You end up having a baby by this
I'm not
person.
even talking about going,
You know,
yeah, not even
they
talking about
put
having
in the
sex.
game.
Yeah, I'm just going to dinner with
Right,
you. I'm entertaining you with my time. And I think so many people think, oh, I'm going to be spreading myself out there. And people are like, oh, you went through this phase. No, I was just I was giving people my time, which
right.
is very valuable to me.
Yeah,
When you talk
for
about my
sure.
body, baby, because if you get my body, we didn't
Well,
discuss some
see,
things
that's what we're
past
talking about.
the
That
selection
people
phase.
confuse it. People confuse it. They don't
Yeah,
know. You ain't supposed to be doing that if you
yeah,
just dating.
I
we be
mean,
going out to dinner. We keep
not
hitting on
not
the
even
phone.
not even
Fast
just
snack.
that, but I think that I do agree with what Khalil's saying that people confuse the different phases, but I also think
Yes,
that
they do.
people fall in love with potential. If potential is not being married with intentionality, it's not being married with purpose, it's not being married with consistent effort, then
Hmm.
ma'am, sir, I'm sorry, you got to go. Because I've seen people,
Yeah.
well, they could do this or they could be that, and it's just like, but are they doing that though? Are they doing the things that align with what you're potentially seeing them do, or potentially
It,
seeing them become?
it's
Because
not even
like I
the
was just
person's
having,
potential. It's what they want. Like, let's just be
yes,
honest. I'm gonna speak for the resident girlies, right? And y'all argue in the comments with me. How many of you guys have seen a man that looks good and start planning your wedding? You ain't seen this man's actual potential. You ain't reviewed what he could do, what he's about. You ain't looked at none of that, but you didn't plan the whole wedding because he looked good.
Right.
Argue with me in the
well,
comments.
The
Argue with me in the
superficial.
comments.
But there's a lot of people
Like, the
there's
potential
a lot of
isn't
people.
what you
Yeah.
want, not necessarily what that person possesses.
yeah,
Right. There's people who have one good date and they start just completely contemplating
Oh
what a
my
wedding would look
gosh.
like. There's
Hold
people,
on. I'm gonna tell you,
plenty of clients who said stuff like that.
not even clients. And now I think I agree that they should probably be a client if they're doing that because there's some attachment issues. If you on the first date, chill, baby, chill. No,
Yeah.
listen, I don't know where I was at, but I was on a YouTube rabbit hole and it's this radio show where you could
she said
call in.
YouTube radio
Rabbit hole. Yeah,
rabbit
y'all
hole.
know. Come on, stop. Everybody
You
goes
know,
on a YouTube rabbit hole once
her
or
accent. You know
another.
her accent just be sounding like that.
So I'm scrolling and then I come across this radio show. And on the radio show, they give people the option. It's not a prank call because it's like a call, but it's an anonymous call made to somebody that they've been out on a date with or they've liked. And so this one particular call, they said it was the lazy dater. The man, they call him, let's just call him Brad. They called Brad and was like, "Hey Brad, do you remember going on a date with Emily?" And he was just like, "Oh, date with Emily." So they start describing the date because Emily set it up, right? And so Emily's like, told them all this stuff. Brad is such a wonderful guy. He went to the grocery store with me. Like, we walked, we talked. It was amazing. He was just the best. And I just never heard from him again. And I'd like a second date because I just know this is my husband. This is my person. This is my bookie forever.
See what I'm
So
saying?
Brad gets on the phone, right? Because he's, unbeknownst to Brad, Emily's listening in. So Brad was just like, the radio announcers are like, Brad, do you remember meeting, going out on this date, went on the first date with Emily? And he's like, I mean, okay, yeah, I remember going out on a date with Emily, but she wanted too much. He was
Right.
like, whoa, she wanted to walk and talk, and I'd be tired, okay? I just don't understand why we had to walk and talk. Like, then she wanted to go to the grocery store and she wanted to do all these things and talk about my day. I didn't do nothing in my day. I went to work, I played video games, and I came home and was ready for bed. And so they're like, "Well, do you think you'd ever go out again with her?" No. She's too high energy for me. They're like, "Well, Brad, all she wanted to do was talk on the phone." Yeah, but I don't have that much to say. And
Wow.
so Emily chimes in, mind you, I don't think you're supposed to chime in. Emily chimes in and she's like, "Yeah, you're a liar. The day was phenomenal. Okay, the day was phenomenal. And I know you're the person for me." He's just like, "No, because if that's all you wanted on the first date, I can only imagine what life with you would be like. You're going to want more than I have the energy level. And
Mm,
while it was funny to hear, I was like, Brad is so spot on. And I don't think a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people listen to that, right? Listen to
Mm-hmm.
what people are actually saying. And they say,
Yes.
well, this guy has great qualities. He's a great person. He made me feel good. And then they just run with that, right? So Emily ran with how Brad made her feel, but didn't take into consideration how Brad was showing up to the space and how it made him feel being in that space. So when you're talking about building a life with somebody, those are the conversations that I think are even more important than just what do you like? What are you into? What kind of family did you come from? No, how does being in this space make you feel? Right?
I
Are we both looking for the same thing at the same time? Because one person might just be wanting companionship. And I've had that. I've been in a
right.
companionship relationship, but we both enjoy companionship. And then another person might be looking for a relationship. And so I think you gotta know how the person is feeling in the space before you just dive in it and thinking, oh, well, because I feel this way, this is how we both feel.
Right, right.
yeah.
Those distorted thoughts, those are distortions, man. You mind
Yeah.
read and
And I
yeah,
mean, Emily, the more she talked, um, it was clear that she had been hurt previously, right? And like I said, had some attachment issues. And so she was misinterpreting this guy's connection for more than what it actually was. And he was just like,
She was romanticizing.
right,
she was
right.
romanticizing it. And that's the danger of the girls on the internet. 'Cause they're like romanticizing like, oh, this guy, gave you a compliment. Oh, that could be your husband. Or this person thinks you're attractive. Oh, this could be your man. And while yes, sometimes that does happen, I think a lot of times we have to kind of push back and not rush the steps. Okay, so you think I'm cute now? Like,
Right.
I'm also
Yes.
into books. You like books? Because I'm
What
really
books do
into
you
books.
Can
like?
you even read?
Can you even read?
Can you read?
Can you read?
Be-
Or I don't
because
like books and I prefer to watch the movies because there's nothing
Right,
wrong for the people who look. I ain't got the attention span for a whole book, but you put it in 90 minutes or less. I'm all ears.
and
right,
and see, I agree with everything you just said. I think that that's where, as I said before, there has to be when you are preparing for marriage, because I think that there, like you talked about this before about the preparation phase.
mhm,
Oh yeah.
A lot of us skip that.
right,
This is
Yeah.
where we got to sit down and have these conversations of before we get
And
down,
if you
because
put
like it
that on
don't
my timeline, let me know. I will put the timeline for if anyone wants it.
it,
We
it,
will
it
put the
blows
timeline
it
on
it
there.
blows my mind, like when we're watching daytime television and people realize that they didn't want the same things when they're at the altar and
right,
they're or the
On
day
those
of the
reality
wedding.
shows, right, right, right.
And I'm just like, did we not have these conversations of where you see yourself in 5, 10, 15 years? Did we not
No,
have
they don't,
conversations
Raja.
about financial expectations, or do we want to have
No.
children?
Or you
I'm
do. I
blown
had the
away.
conversation. No, listen. Before I got married, I was engaged previously. Roger Mail, don't make no faces. I was previously engaged.
Why you
Um,
tell me not to date?
because I already know Roger Mail knows the person. It went down bad. Um, but that kind of happened, right? We had all of the talks, all of the conversations, and Brody was all for it, right? We were supposed to get married in June. And like sometime in May, homeboy was just like, yeah, so all that stuff we talked about, I ain't trying to do none of that. I said, oh, the wedding's off. I didn't think about it. I didn't deliberate. I said, nah, the wedding's off. And actually I'm about to get out your car and I'll see you later because the hell, we ain't got nothing to talk about. Like,
right.
cause you lied. When we were having those conversations, you lied and you thought I was going to change and be something other than what I said I was going to be. And I'm not. I'm set on who I am and how I'm showing up. And
And
so, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So come April came, matter of fact, April the 1st, April Fool's Day, I was sending out the wedding's canceled text to people.
Hmm.
And they were like, this is a joke. I was like, no, yeah, the joke was on me. And
Mm-hmm.
we ended up about to make a decision that is not something light. Like, you about to ruin my life. Are you freaking kidding me? So I ended it. And people might say, well, you didn't have that. No, the dress was bought. The venue was selected and paid for. Everything. Invitations were sent out. Saved. Everything was done. All we had to do was show up to the date. Canceled all that trash because I said, nah, what we not about to do is play with this. Like it's just something trivial. So sometimes people do it, but I think how they get all the way to the altar is because you don't continue having those conversations.
Right.
Yes, and
Right.
that's what I was about to
Brian and
say.
I continued having that conversation the day before our wedding. I think we got into it and I was just like, big fella, this is what you want. Don't
You
do this
sure?
because I
You sh-
call it off.
you sure?
I
You
will
sure?
call it off. He was just like people are coming. I don't care who's coming. And they will go the same way they came will be the same way.
Well,
And I
that's the
mean,
reason why
and
these difficult conversations need to be had. We've had a podcast about that, right? That sometimes you have to have those difficult conversations because people will yes
Mhm.
man you, yes woman you, all the way to the yeah, I'm gonna do that,
yep,
yeah.
Yep.
Then when they
Yep.
get in the relationship, they're not trying to be stretched, they're not trying to be pushed to do anything they don't want to do. Some people are not
Hmm.
going to change, and they really had no intention of doing all those things. It was just to keep you quiet.
yeah, and
Yep.
that's where, as I said before, we get caught up in falling in love with people's potential rather than what they're actually presenting to us. And like
Right.
you said, you brought up a
Yeah.
very valid point of continuing to have the same conversations. When you are getting married, and you're in that preparation phase, one of the things that I tell people all the time, you need to have premarital counseling.
Right.
You
Because
have to. It's
again,
a
you need to
must. It's a
you
must.
absolutely you need someone who is going to be unbiased, who can help you navigate things, because the time to figure out that we're not at the same point in certain conversations is not after we've said I do. We didn't sign
Yep.
papers, we didn't said I do, because now we stuck together for life. Till death do us part.
Yep.
We took that vow.
Well, look,
So,
one of the craziest things that I've had happen, and this was somebody in my family. I'm not going to speak names and stuff, but they got married, and then come to find out the husband doesn't want children, and he said he was fine with having children before. You get
yeah.
what I'm saying?
And see,
Those things are
that's
crazy
the
to
type of
me.
stuff I'm talking about. That's the type of stuff I'm talking about. I want to go over the timeline again. Can I do that? Do we have
Yes, go
time
over
for
the
me to
Let's
timeline.
go
talk.
over the
Yes,
timeline
go over the
again?
timeline.
And I'm serious. If anyone wants the timeline, I will send it out. This is my proprietary information, but I will send it out to you. I don't know if for a cost or for free. I'll let Roger Mill decide that first.
Okay.
But just because it's good information, I think, you know, it's good information. So, like anything, there's a process, and I believe that dating and marriage is one. First of all, I want to put it out there. I just reminded this to my husband. I don't know, but I said getting married was, you know, to me, the best decision, and that's top three. The only one that comes above getting married was getting baptized. That might not be everybody's story, but when I align like best decisions made, marriage for me is top three
Mm-hmm.
because it helped when I chose my partner. This is the person that, like I told you guys, literally, I am planning to build the rest of my life with. Everything is structured around my marriage, where I go to church, who I align myself with outside, like outside friendships, where I live, what I do, all of that is centered around how I do life with this person. Now, am I an
Mm-hmm.
individual? Yes. I have my own individual friends, I have my own individual interests and hobbies. And even my business it's mine, but it is all within the respect of how does this highlight my partnership and how does this continue to grow the thing that means the most to me. So with that being said, why I phrase it that way, we'll get into in the timeline. So the first step is the talking phase. That and people are like, oh, we talking, but you're exclusively talking. Talking is not an exclusive situation.
Exclusive. Right.
Talking and a part of this was developed of how my dad taught me. My dad said, when you're dating, you date multiple people. that is what dating is. That is how you see what you like and you learn things. So I never grew up with the intention that dating was just for one person. No, you don't get to monopolize my time. You've not earned that privilege yet. Um,
Right.
and my dad, like I said, he's a girl's dad. So that's how he has sons, but that's how he taught his girls. Nobody gets to decide your time. You are the timekeeper until you get married. Okay. So the talking phase is really where you build a friendship with this person. You get to know them. You expose them to some of your hobbies, right? Y'all, hey, look, I like to volunteer. You go on a couple dates. You may take him on a date, her on a date, and they take you on a date. You're just doing things together. You out here spending time. That's the only thing you given in the talking phase is your time. Okay, which is a very important part. A very important part. Now, during this phase, this is your and you are giving or investing emotional and mental intimacy. That's what you're building in this phase, in the talking phase. Because when you're doing activities with someone, you are getting to understand how mentally and emotionally they operate in different spaces. So you don't want to cloud that with nothing else, right? Next one you have, I mean, the timelines could look different for everybody as far as the dates, but you have to make sure you go through that talking phase. The next one is seriously interested. This is where you will start to introduce physical and spiritual intimacy because you're building intimacy along the way. Your spiritual and physical intimacy is built here. Now, I don't mean physical in the realm of sexual. That has not come in yet. We're not
What?
ready for that yet.
Wait, we
No.
can't get to the sexuals yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. And I'm going to tell you why. Because at this point, when you're seriously interested, this is when you need to introduce this person to your circle of influence. So your friends, your close friends, the people who mean the most to you, not your parents just yet. This is when you introduce them to your close network. Because if I'm introducing you to my parents, I really want to keep you around. You're not meeting my parents. My parents are special. You're not meeting them. But you might meet my siblings. You might meet my homegirls, my homeboys, because they're going to size you up. They're going to ask you stuff that I ain't going to ask. They're going to tell me stuff because they know me. I'm like, nah, he ain't for you. Mm-mm. I saw him checking out somebody else when he was walking to the bathroom. And no, he's had some, mannerisms about him that just ain't going to vibe with you because I know you, friend. And he could be a great person. She could be a great person, but my people know me. So during the seriously interested phase, that's when y'all start to meet each other's circle to see how you mesh with the group, to see how
Mm-hmm.
if the vibes are vibing. Also, if you are a Christian or if you are involved in any type of serious group, NA, AA, all of that type of stuff, right? This is the time where the person needs to go with you to those events. And yes, I
Mm-hmm.
brought up
Mm-hmm.
NAAA because those meetings have a deeper connection than just your friend group, right?
Right.
That's your
Yes.
moral compass. And if the person does not align with your moral compass, they're not the person for you. Dead it right there. They don't need to meet nobody else. You don't need to do
Yep.
nothing else with this person. It's done. After that,
Mm-hmm.
once they have got the approval from your friends, they have
Mm-hmm.
gotten the approval from your social or your community group, like your church,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then and only then do you introduce your parents. And then once your parents say, all right, yeah, all right, yeah, I can
Mm-hmm.
see this
Mm-hmm.
person, they
Mm-hmm.
vibe with you, you guys look great together, then you're exclusive. So
Mm-hmm.
at that point, you guys should ask each other to be exclusive. Yes.
So when we get to the sexuals.
Damn, can you wait? You get to the sexuals once you become exclusive. If
Okay.
if
Okay.
you're
Okay.
not waiting to marriage, some people want to wait till marriage, and I honor that, right?
Yes.
But if
Yes.
you're not waiting till marriage, at least wait until you're exclusive because you don't want to introduce sex too early because you will
Well, it
create a
clouds the
false sense of
contract.
intimacy.
It clouds
Yes.
the
Well,
judgment.
just more
Facts.
than just developing a contract, you create a false sense of intimacy because now you're expecting to be further along in the process. Your brain is telling you we're further along in the process, but your body is not sensing that, or your body is sensing, and your brain's like, well, I don't know nothing about this person. So
person,
you want
right?
to make sure all of those intimacy levels are built before you introduce something that's super physical and you create that contract like Khalil is saying, right? So after you introduce them to people and you're in an agreement with everyone who's important to your life, that's when sex can be initiated. Because after that, because you've entered into a contract, because you've started a covenant with this person, right? Now you're in the courting phase. Well, what do you do? Because I done did all this hard work beforehand. Now you start building a life together. You're going to be asking quite the
Absolutely.
harder questions about what's your credit looking like?
Yeah.
Okay. How's
Can
your
you
spiritual
read?
life? Can you read? Right. Well, you should know if they can read. Take them to
You
somewhere where you
listen.
got to read a menu first.
Yeah.
Take them to a restaurant they ain't never been to before and let them pick off the menu. They'll not pick off the menu, baby. You don't need to introduce them to nobody because you don't want them to think you're a bad picker. Hello? You out here picking illiterate people. Know better. So during the courting phase, like I was saying, you get your spiritual life together. And people might say, I mean, that's a personal thing. It is. But if you have weak spiritual life, we're gonna not be aligned. If I'm high and you
Exactly.
low, we got to be aligned,
Mm-hmm.
right? You
Right.
want to
Because
make sure. Go ahead.
because that part is very, 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 very important. The reason it's very important because if you guys are not moving together, you're gonna move apart.
Yeah.
And that is one of those points where so many people do not pour into and do not figure out, are they aligned spiritually? Because if people like that is a sticking point, and it is a marriage ender for a lot of people, is, are we spiritually aligned? Because like I said, the whole point in marriage is that you guys grow together because you guys are now one. So
Mm-hmm.
if there is certain things like, like Unique's laying these out, there are certain things that are, you guys are not in alignment in, you guys are not at the same point in, or you guys are not near each other in, eventually those things are going to start to kind of diverge and pull you guys apart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So taking
Um,
notes on timeline unique. And so at any time when the male or female who's doing this trying out your dating timeline, at any time, even if we're in the talking phase or seriously interested phase or exclusive dating, right? Anytime you're in any of these phases and you see that your vision with this person or both of you don't align, you're not equally yoked, you have some differences that you can't work through, at that point it's okay to pull out, right?
it's all fair to leave, and no, there's no harm, no foul, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the time when we're doing it. Like even in a business deal, when you're making a business deal, you're not before anything is signed. It's known that everybody can pull out and
Mm-hmm.
everybody can walk away. Nobody loses anything. No assets have been joined. We're
Yep.
good. At this point, we just been talking about what we're
It's
gonna join together.
it's
So it's
all
all fair
hypothetical.
game. It's
But see,
all
this
hypothetical.
scares me because dealing in our profession, I deal with a lot of people who are not self-aware. They don't even know what they want, right? And
You don't need to be
I can
getting
see that,
married.
right. I can see them getting pulled into a situation where you're just really agreeing with people and you're trying to be,
But
you
I'm
know,
gonna help you out on the next. I'm gonna help you
yeah,
out on my
help me out
next
because
point. Because
yeah,
we're
that's what
in
I
the
needed.
courting phase, right? So
Mm-hmm.
before we get to my last point with the courting phase, this is important. If you're starting a new career, new job, new anything, and you're talking about entering into the courting phase, that needs to be discussed with your partner. Not to say that you're not going to do it, but your level of investment to that needs to be discussed so that your partner is aware, hey, this is how you fit into this. Because
Mhm.
if not, that very thing, while you're trying to build and get something nice, can be the very thing that tears you guys apart. If you're starting a new program in school, whatever you're
Right.
doing, your partner needs to know how they align long term with whatever you're building right there. Last, but definitely the most important, go to couples counseling and improve your communication skills.
Mm-hmm.
This
Mm-hmm.
should be important before you ever take anybody's hand in marriage, take a ring, give a ring. You need to know without a shadow of a doubt, this person is stable mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. Um, all the leads, they need to be stable. And couples counseling is the place that you will find that out. I'm not just saying that because I'm a therapist. I'm saying it because I've done it and I wholeheartedly believe in it. And it will be the dividing factor if you should continue. Go ahead, Raja.
Right.
I think that, like what you said, to caveat on what you said, I think it's, couples counseling, the reason that it is so important and the reason why I'm an advocate for it before people get married is because you will, in couples counseling, discover how you guys resolve conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Well,
for a lot of
conflict is
people,
neither good nor bad. Conflict
yes,
is
it's
neutral.
it's neutral. It's neutral, but when you're in counseling and you're sitting down and discussing things and being able discussing it with an impartial party, you're able to kind of see, you're getting a kind of like a pre-game of the game of
Hmm.
how you guys are going to resolve issues that come up. Because
Yep.
we're not always, regardless of how much you love someone, regardless of how good they look, regardless of how well they treat you, everyone is not going to view things the same way you view things.
Right.
Hmm.
Everyone is not going to agree with everything that you say. And
Hmm.
so that doesn't mean that what you think or what you say is wrong and what they think and what they say is right.
Hmm.
But how you guys are able to navigate through that space always needs to be done respectfully. And it
Mm-hmm.
needs to
Hmm.
be done in a way where both of you can receive what the other person is saying.
Right.
Yep.
Too often, I see where people talk at each other and not talk with each other.
Right.
Hmm. And
Where,
that's why I
because,
said improve your communication. Therapy is going to
Mhm,
give you that skill set.
Give you the tools.
absolutely.
It's just going to, even if you go to like a pastoral counselor,
Mhm,
Mm-hmm.
and I would recommend if you have a pastor, yes, going to them, but I also recommend going to a licensed mental health professional because
absolutely.
they're going
Yep.
to have the tools and skills that sometimes a clergy person may not possess because they didn't learn the full scope of how to navigate that with someone
I think you
else.
need to go
Go
to
ahead.
both. I think you
Right.
need
I
to go to
do.
both.
I
No,
do.
no.
You need to go to a pastor, because the pastor is going to be able to help you navigate through the things that you are going to be
The
dealing with
spiritual
spiritually.
process.
And then
Right.
the licensed professional therapist is going to be able to help you navigate through the things that you would be experiencing emotionally and
The
mentally.
life issues. Yeah.
Life issues, because life be life, and sometimes.
Right.
And
Yeah.
what people have to understand, and I think this is very important about marriage as well, is you guys need to constantly stay tapped in with one another and do what is called a barometer check,
Mm.
where you are constantly checking in with your partner, because who your partner was 5 months ago may not be who they are now. We
Right.
all go through
Raja, don't steal
changes.
my timeline. Don't steal my
Oh, okay.
timeline. I'm gonna
Look,
cover it. I'm gonna cover
Okay.
it.
he's getting hyped.
But this is
Get
because
Here.
this is important. This is important. Before we leave the courting though, um, once you are, and this can be before or after, because in the courting now we're ready to get engaged. Somebody probably thinking, oh God, when can I get the ring? Now, this is when you get it. After you've gotten the yes and okay, again from people who are not your family,
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
who do not have a vested interest in your tail, okay? Because your banker, the only vested interest they have in you is your money.
Mm-hmm.
Your pastor or your therapist, the only vested interest they have in you is if you're paying for them sessions. Um, anybody else on that I listed in that list, your boss is vested that you come and keep making them money.
Right.
Absolutely.
Nobody has personal vested interest in you out in this during this time frame, but the person you're building with. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so then you say, oh, hey, I want to spend my life with you, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna mean it from the bottom of my heart. Love is not enough of a reason to marry anyone.
Say that again.
Love is not enough of a reason to get married to anyone. I have loved a couple of people and still hold some love for them in my heart. Not the same like my husband, but I love them and had things aligned, would have been perfect partners. But again, all of the dots, all of the things wasn't aligned, and so we had to part. But it
Right.
didn't mean I didn't love them, right? So love is not enough. All right, so now that you're engaged, you're planning the wedding, all that fun stuff, and you go to the altar and you say, I do. This is called the investing phase. Marriage is an investment. Not always monetary. Sometimes it is. It is a big monetary and an emotional investment. This is where you will spend the most of your time, energies, efforts, and money. It is
Mm-hmm.
is the biggest investment you will make in your life. That's why you have to put in the necessary steps. You have to do your homework before you do it, because you want to make sure your return on the investment is equaling or greater than what you're putting into it.
Right.
You want to make
Facts.
sure of that.
So the
If
reason why I
I'm
like
going to do this, go ahead.
reason why I like this is because by you putting in this time, effort, energy, a lazy person is going to drop out before they even get down to the courting
Hmm.
phase. If you do this properly, the way Unique has
Hmm.
outlined it, you're going to get to see that person who does not have the stay to itness and the resilience, and they don't want to keep up with you. They don't want to learn you. They don't want to really reveal who they are.
They're
They're
not
going to keep
vulnerable.
lying to you.
Hmm.
The lies are going to come out in something like this. You're going
Well,
to be able
well,
to expose
well.
them.
That's only if you stick to the timeline. You stick to the timeline
Right.
and the different phases of the timeline. What we have happen too often is people start to relax because they want to get to certain
They
parts of the
start
timeline.
investing too
What
soon. Yeah, they start
well
investing too soon.
not even just that, but they want to get to certain parts of the timeline without putting in the work to get to the next phase of the timeline.
Mm.
So I want
Hmm.
to get to the sexuals. So because I want to get to the sexuals, I just fast forward everything else. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the problem with that is the fact that, like you alluded to, Khalil, when you set the tone of this is where we're going, this is what we're doing, we're not moving past this point until we do X, Y, and Z. People will then either step their game up and get to where
Right.
you need them to be, or they'll recognize, as Unique has talked about in previous episodes, they'll recognize this costs too much. And because it
Mm.
costs too much, I'm not willing to invest any more time. I'm not willing to waste any more time. I'm not willing to do anything more than what I'm already doing. So I'm going to get the fuck on. And so,
Hmm.
again, like you alluded to, people will reveal who they really are in that moment. But you have to stand 10 toes down on business and be intentional and purposeful about, hey, this is where I'm hoping to go. This is what I'm hoping to do. But what we tend to do is we tend to sell ourselves for cheap. We
Right.
sell
Yep.
ourselves for cheap,
Right.
and then we wonder why you play stupid games and get stupid prizes.
Yep.
And that's where for me as a provider, it's easy for me to point out to, like, when I have my employees and they're talking about their relationship problems, I'm able to point out, hey, this is where things went wrong,
Hmm.
but
Because you're a
for,
non-biased party. It's not even
exactly.
like you trying to, and be nasty or cool. You're a non-biased party. So I have insight that you don't, because you're in it. I'm not.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm looking at the situation. I'm not living the situation. So I can point out things that you would never see.
And one of the things that I was just having this conversation about with one of my employees, it's easy to say what you don't want, but have you had that conversation with your boyfriend to start to decide to figure out if that's what he wants? Because
Hmm.
yes, he may be saying what you're saying right now, but at some point in time you get to a point to where you want something different. And so when you get to a point to where you want something different, because her biggest thing is, I don't want to get married. Okay, that may be fine for you right now, but at
Right.
some point in time there gets to a point to where in everyone's life where we want to do grown up things.
He's ready to start
So,
investing. Well,
and
it's
that's,
not even just a grown up thing. He's ready to start investing. And
yeah.
so what he would be telling her is, I am at a place where I want to invest in this way. And
Mm-hmm.
if she's still on the fence about it or just absolutely against it, so I would not be getting a return on my investment by engaging
Mm-hmm.
with you any further. So it would dead their relationship.
and and
She's
that's what I
already
told her.
stopped she's not even entering into they've entered into the courting phase. It's done. The relationship is truly finished because they
and
have nothing else to build.
and that's
They're
exactly
just
what I
waiting
told
to
her.
call it off.
If you're not continuing, and that's where it goes back to what I was saying earlier, you have to continue to have those conversations, because
Hmm.
you decided that, hey, I don't want to get married. But like I said, at some point in time you get to a point to where, as you mature, you start looking at life differently, life starts hitting you differently, you start having different thoughts as you progress in life, and as you get older and more wiser. At some point in time he's going to look up and say, hey, I want to be, maybe not, but he may look up and say, hey, I want to be somebody's husband. I want to
Mm.
be able to say that this is my wife, this is my family.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
if he continues to stay with you, he has to then at that point make a choice and potentially make a sacrifice. And like I told her, in relationships, if something becomes a sacrifice, at depending on who the person is, it starts to fester and cause resentment.
Resentment, right?
And so that's
If
where,
it's
like
a
I told her,
sacrifice that does not yield you any benefit, right? Because we
exactly.
sacrifice a lot. I sacrifice for
Yeah.
P all the time. But the,
Mm-hmm.
the, the reward of my sacrificial giving or my sacrificial living with and for
It
my
far
kids,
outweighs what you're
the
sacrificing.
reward for that is
Yes.
different, right? The reward is different. As a Christian, I believe I sacrifice and give things to God, but the
Mm-hmm.
reward for doing that
Or
is greater than anything that I could have ever given to begin with,
Absolutely.
right? So this
but
is
in
why
any relationship, you
marriage,
need a compromise. That you should be able to
Mm-hmm.
compromise. There are going to be things that you have to
there has
sacrifice.
to be there has to be compromise when you're investing, period. This is why I call it the investing phase, because
Mm-hmm.
there is always a compromise when you're investing in the stock market, right? You're still going to have to compromise because you might have to compromise on the price. Well, I want to pay this, but the person selling the stock is like, but this is how much it's worth, and so you compromise. All right, well, I'll give you this share, I'll sell these shares, I'll give you this if I can get this, and if I can get this return. If you're saying I can get this return on buying into this stock, I'm gonna do it, right?
Right.
It
Absolutely.
might cost me a little bit. We might have to negotiate, but I'm gonna do it. Especially when you're talking about a stockbroker, you put a stockbroker in the middle of that thing, they're gonna argue the price for you because you're investing. You're diving into this to say, okay, this is what I want to do. Also in the investing stage, when you start to get into marriage and people say, oh, well, do I move in with this person? Do I not move in with this person? Do I take their last name? Do I not take their last name? You have to look at the type of investments you want to make. Are you just doing penny stocks? Are you looking for a short-term investment? Are you looking to be a long-term investor? The reason
Long
why
term
all of this
investments,
is
baby.
important the reason why this is important is because you're going to know, okay, how much do I need to invest in the game, right? If I'm just
Mm-hmm.
looking for a
Mm-hmm.
penny stock,
Mm-hmm.
I want to buy low and I want to earn high,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
I want to get
Absolutely.
as much as I can get for as low as I can give. That's not going to be a lasting marriage. But we've seen couples who get married and they say, you know what? I don't hate the person. I got what I wanted to get out of it. I got
Mm-hmm.
my status. I got money. I got, elevation. I don't care what anybody says, marriage is a social status changer. People say it's just a piece of paper. No. When you are married, you change your social status.
Right.
I don't make the rules. It just is what it is.
Right.
And
Marriage
Phil,
does
when
that
you're
for
when
you.
you're in a
Well,
relationship with somebody, your status changes.
right.
It changes
Single people.
your social status. But I'm
It
saying
does.
marriage more than just dating
Mm-hmm.
specifically changes your social status because no longer you're just a singleton. You are legally connected to someone else, like spiritual legally. You are connected with someone else financially, everything. Don't believe me? Check your taxes. It's tax season.
Right. You even
Check
get
your
tax
taxes.
benefits
Facts,
when you
baby.
mean. You know what I mean? Come on.
You
Yeah.
are legally
So they get
bound
you in.
to during life with this person, and if they die, baby, you stand to inherit some good things if you've made some wise investments.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
This is the time when you want to get your life insurance policies up. If you're considering buying property, this is the time to start considering it together, right? Because I'm doing all of my investing now. Last but not least on our timeline is expanding. This is the part that most people rush into
Mm-hmm.
from the
Yep.
jump
Yep. Because we're
because in
trying to get to them sectionals,
expanding,
baby.
this is when you get kids, you
Mm-hmm.
get the pets, you buy the
Yep.
bigger house, you get the
Yep.
bigger job, you get the
Ooh,
car.
man.
Expansion has to be the very last thing you do. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you expand too soon without building the other steps, it will all crumble.
Right.
Facts.
You gotta have that
It
first
will all
foundation.
crumble. So when we're talking about the timeline, we're talking about what can go wrong. If you start expanding during the talking phase, you would have skipped all of the intimacy levels. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You would have created this false narrative that your life is going to be this, but you've never set up a foundation to ensure that it is that,
Right.
right? If you start expanding during the seriously interested phase, you'll find that nobody in your circle likes this person.
Yep.
but you've
So you
already
can't
started
bring.
investing and
So you
expanding.
can't
So you
take them
can't
anywhere with you.
you can't take them anywhere. You're only isolated. You start to feel isolated in your relationship
Mm-hmm.
and you start to resent the person. If you
Yep.
do it, if you introduce or, okay, I've done the other steps, but now I just want to get to the sexuals and I've introduced them to my family, but I've not spent time building anything. You start with that, then guess what? Again, nobody will like them because they'll feel like you've rushed everything. You won't know what they're
Mm-hmm.
interested in. You would have expanded with this person because you've created this false narrative. And so now I've expanded. And then now it's just like, well, how come none of it works? How come none of it fits together? Because you've not built you don't know who this person is. You've gotten in bed with a stranger. Now let's just say you've done all the steps, you've gone through all of that, but you're still lying to yourself about wanting to be married to this person. And you start courting them. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we lie. Okay. We
Mm-hmm.
lie about
We lie.
actually
We
wanting the
do.
things that we say we
Mm-hmm.
want it because we really don't want it because we don't want the
Mm-hmm.
pressure that comes with having it. So you've been
Yep.
lying. Let's call it what it is. You've
Right.
been lying to them and yourself and you started courting them. You've done all the things, but you start the relationship with courting. And then this person is ready to invest. They will put in more effort, more money. They will invest more and you will be found in the negative. And they're going to want you to pay them back for their investments. Whether it's kids, the house, the job, the friends, the community, they're going to want their money back.
Yep.
Right.
And
They
this is
want that.
when people start to do lawsuits. They start to trash you on the internet. They start to
Or
trash you in your social communities.
they slashing your tires.
They slash your tires. That's because a person has invested and you
Right.
have been found wanting in the investment area. So you want to
Mm.
keep your tires from getting slashed? When Jasmine Sullivan was busting windows out the car because Jasmine
Knew
had
you were
jumped
gonna
to
go
the
there.
investment stage.
Yeah,
But
they
you know I love
invest.
music because music listen, when you're
I
a grown
knew she was going there. I
when you
knew she was
grown,
going there.
R&B and rap be talking different. I can throw country music in there. Them songs hit different when you done gone through something. Even gospel
Yep.
music, baby, it hits different.
It
Okay?
does.
So when Jasmine was slashing them tires, when Carrie Underwood was slinging the Louisville Slugger to both headlights, that's because them women had invested something that they didn't feel like they were going to get a return on their investment. And I'll bet you that's because they skipped the other steps. They went
Well,
straight to the exclusive step. They started at the exclusive step in their head. I'm going to be exclusive with this person.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what they started to do? They started to invest without being courted. So when this Joker stopped doing the things, oh, we stopping to invest in Joker? Like, really? Homeboy, that's what we're at? Yeah, baby, because he never planned on investing in the first place. He just was interested in being exclusively sexual with you.
That was
That's
it.
it.
well, I
Y'all
mean,
started and
so
stopped at the same place.
I agree with everything you're saying. I think that the issue that it comes with applying everything that is in the timeline rests in the person having themselves together.
Right.
You
And
know,
that's why I
because
said you can't get married if you ain't together.
for
Right.
for for a lot of people, they get into relationships and they themselves are not mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or physically in the right space. So I'm expecting something from somebody that I
And
can't
then you
even
ain't got
provide.
Right. Right.
And
but
you're then,
this why we
as
tell
you
people come to
alluded to,
therapy.
yeah, you need to come to therapy because, as you alluded to in previous episodes, you're pouring from an empty cup at that point. So
Mm-hmm.
you're
Yeah.
wanting someone to meet these expectations, but then your level of input is not matching theirs. And so, as I alluded to earlier, when you guys are supposed to be growing together, you are at you're at divergent
Yeah, but
paths, and you start splitting.
y'all on two different highways.
Yes,
You're not even
and
on you ain't even on the split. You ain't even
and
at a crossroads. You're just on two separate roads
yeah,
altogether.
those are conversations that I have with people all the time, where I'm like, you're wanting all these things from your significant other, but then what are you
What are you
putting
willing?
into into what are you putting into the pot? And you
Yep.
find where people they start when we start walking that out loud, and
Hmm.
people get a chance to hear it, because
Yeah.
I say stuff out loud, and I have my clients repeat things back out loud to me, because it's different when I'm telling you that what you're doing or what you're saying sounds irrational,
And what you
or
interpret.
yeah, or what you interpret is not in this form of reality.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear and you like, ooh, yeah, I see what you're
Hmm.
saying right there. And
Yeah.
I'll have some of them come back and be like, you know what? Now, I was in my feelings when we had talked about that, but then I had time to
Hmm.
think about what you had said, and damn, you was right. I'm tripping.
Listen,
I owed so and so an
the
apology.
client that I made this for, because I made this up in session while literally it came to my dome from the Holy Spirit and literally talking to a client. I made it
We got to patent
in my
this.
45-minute session.
We got to patent this. You
The
giving out
client was
information.
saying, "Oh, I want, I want a life where we eat family dinners and we have, this big connection and family bond." I said, "Stop. You don't eat family dinners now.
Mm,
You're not going to feel comfortable with someone who's family oriented because you're not that. If
right.
that's what you want, we have to start working on building that now. You
Yes,
have to become the person that you want.
One.
You have to become the person who can live in the life that you desire. If you
like
desire to live a rich life, you got to become the person who possesses riches."
Right.
and that's something that I talk to people about all the time. I use you as an example of how when you wanted to get married, you started hanging out with married people. You
I
started
did.
moving in the direction of where you wanted to be. You weren't just waiting for it to happen to you. You started
Mm-hmm.
surrounding yourself with people who were already at the point you hope to be, so you could see what
Mm-hmm.
that looks like. Because it's
Yeah.
much easier. Like my mom used to tell me, when I was a kid, you got to act like you've been somewhere before.
Yeah.
Because when you act like you've been somewhere before, you're more likely to stay there when you get there versus trying to learn how to be there once you get there. Because you're gonna find yourself up out of there. And
Yeah.
so I tell people that all the time. If you are, and I use you as a prime example of that. If
I love
you are
it.
trying to have things that you've never had before, at some point in time, you got to separate yourself from the old you and start moving into who you want to be. You got to
Who
start
you want to
surrounding
be.
yourself with the people you
You
want to
have to
be. You
visualize
gotta
it.
you
Yeah.
gotta visualize. You have to manifest that for
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Yeah,
And
visualize it because people say, "Oh, I manifested," right? But the difference between manifestation and visualization is, and we
Hmm.
use this skill in therapy all the time, right? Is you can literally see yourself in that place. When we have
mhm,
clients who are struggling with like anxiety, um, or and never our clients who are schizophrenic because they be doing a lot of imagining
yep,
without help. But
hmm,
usually for our clients who have some form of anxiety, we'll say, imagine yourself in a place that's not this,
Right.
right?
yep,
Can you see yourself in a comforting place, in a safe space? Because if you can see yourself there, then it's easier to take the steps to get there. Because now we walk you backwards. Okay, I'm at the beach. I hear the waves. I can smell the salt in the sea. I hear the seagulls in the background. I hear the children running by. So now what's it going to take to get you there?
Right. Well,
If
look,
you see yourself in a marriage, then it's much easier to say, okay, what are the steps to get me there? And the first step might be, I got to get me there. Because if
that's
I
what I'm about
can't
to say.
see the steps to get me there, then that means I need to put in some work on me.
And that's where I'm at. I want people to take this. This is wonderful. I love it. But we got to be practical, right? If you don't know yourself, you don't love yourself, you haven't even figured out what you want with your future, or like you said, you can't even visualize, right, what a marriage looks like. You're you can't begin to do these steps until we work
Mhm.
on you first.
But
It
notice where I said it was created. It wasn't
Yes,
created in isolation. This was created during a session, an individual session. And that's important for people to realize. This wasn't created in an outside bubble. Oh, you're just a therapist, so that's why you said. No, I made it specifically for a client who wanted to be married, who wanted to be in a relationship. And they were saying, I need to do work on me. I didn't create it to
right,
shame the person. I created it for the person to use as a guide to see how to navigate relationships. And consequently, the person did meet someone. They
wonderful,
tried dating lots of other times and were very unsuccessful. They met someone. And I said, okay, now let's go back to our timeline. How does this person fit? Where are you starting on the timeline? And I
right.
bring them back to it. So yes, Khalil, it is practical. Everything that we suggest on this podcast is under the guise and framework that you are ready and putting in the work to start working on you. If you need help with that, this is going to be a shameless plug. If you need help, you need to sit down with a licensed mental health therapist. If you have insurance, it's a number on the back of your insurance card. call it. Find a
Mm-hmm.
therapist. If you do
Right.
not have insurance, every city, every state has a local mental health and wellness center. Go to it. Services
Right.
will be provided to you there, free of charge to you, and they will help you get insurance to make sure that you can maintain coming to sessions.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting help is not an option, nor is it an excuse for why you are not the best version of yourself. That
Right.
is 100% totally up to you. No matter your childhood past, who hurt you, being the best you is 100% your responsibility.
Yeah. And that's where I was getting to. I want people to, before you even start, because it's not realistic for me to say, oh, I want to get married, but I haven't got myself right yet, right? Because how am I
Mm-hmm.
going to take care of
It
somebody
will
else?
end.
How
It will be a
am I going to
short-term
be
investment.
entrusted to do that? It'll be a short-term investment, right? How am I going to be entrusted to take care of people, especially you meet a spouse that already has children, or you meet someone that's expecting you to help them get to the next level, right? And you haven't even got to that level yourself, right? Those things right there, those aren't realistic for people. And that's where I'm coming in with the practicality. Let's be practical. Let's work on ourselves first. Let's get out of the dream world and the fantasy and change how we view ourselves and how in turn we take care of ourselves and love ourselves before we start loving anybody else. You know what I
hmm
mean? Because
hmm
I know for me in my first marriage, I didn't love myself. How can I
You
take
probably
care of
didn't even
anybody
know
else?
yourself, Khalil, because
I didn't
to
know
love
myself.
yourself, you have to know yourself.
Right. I didn't know
Absolutely.
myself. I didn't love myself. I wasn't able to take care of someone else. It's a very
Amen.
big responsibility. And that's where I say about the practicality. Start on yourself first before you start making a wish list of what
Well,
type of
before
person.
you can be, and I guess I'll end my statements with this. I'll have two more statements. Before you can be selfless, you have to understand your level of selfishness. In
Right.
investing in yourself, you have to be selfish. You have to learn to set healthy boundaries. You have to learn to pour into your own cup because before you can give to someone else, you have to know what you have to give. Right? So
Right.
I'm going to say it again, before you can be selfless, you got to be a little selfish and you have to understand the level and magnitude of how selfish you are. Because marriage
Mm-hmm.
and having kids are the most selfless things you will ever do in your life. Okay? Because both will push you to limits where you're just like, I didn't think I had no more to give. What's in the cup? What's left in the cup?
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to pour into your cup, you will overgive, and then you'll find yourself giving a cup away. And this is how we end up with people on our couch who say, "I just don't even know me anymore," because
Right.
That and you run out of
you
drink.
weren't you weren't selfish in the beginning to figure out what you need
Mm-hmm.
to thrive. You don't know what you need. And it's not too late if you're in a marriage and you are feeling like this. It's not too late. It is not hopeless. You do not have to end your marriage. You do not have to get rid of your kids. You do need to get in therapy ASAP and figure out how to start filling your cup. The last thing I will say about this is I did think I was going to give it away free and I'm not. So if you want to have full access to the timeline, with my unfiltered notes and really like crafting it out, please, you can either fill out an inquiry on my website.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you can list it Raja,
I'll
or
have it
if you
linked
just
down
want
below.
a basic timeline that we discussed today with kind of like the bullet points of what we discussed, um, Raja will also figure out how to make that available to you for a small fee. And
Mm-hmm.
it'll be available for PDF download.
Mm-hmm.
There it is.
So we are going to end the conversation right there. This is Try Not to Overthink It signing out. I'm RJ.
I'm unique.
And I'm Khalil.
If you like what you heard and you like what you saw, we ask that you like, share, subscribe, comment, and hit that notification button. We can be found on YouTube as Try Not to Overthink It. If you would listen to us instead, if you'd like to listen to us instead of watch us, I don't know why you would, because we're some very great looking people. Um, we can be listened to on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Audible, pretty much
There.
all the places you can get the audio. You can get your audio files. We can be listened to. If you would like to support us even further, please make sure that you follow us on social media on TikTok at Try Not to Overthink _ it, as well as Try Not the number 2 Overthink It on Instagram. But this is us signing out, and we will catch you later. Peace.